Okay, so we were looking at this experiment where we are trying to find out whether larger margin is better or not. And for that, what we did was we generated a separable data set with n equals 20 and randomly generated 50,000 separating hyperplanes because, well, we can. And let's also say that we computed this optimal hyperplane, right? So let's say I had this ability to create optimal hyperplane. Of course, I have it now, given that I have all this information about support vectors. So I created that as well, and the width for that is gamma. And let me not call it because let me call it just like gamma opt, right? So just like that's the optimal one. Okay, so this is optimal. Now what we do is we will try to find or we will try to compute the ratio of each of these margins for like hyperplane H1, H2 and so on as a ratio of this optimal one. And why is that? Because basically what we're trying to understand is like what fraction of the space that was available did the hyperplane that I am looking at, for example, H1, H2, H50,000, did that particular hyperplane capture? Okay, so let me get the ratios and I'm just like directly writing it. This gamma optimal, gamma optimal. So I just like took a ratio of that. And let's say we denote each of those ratios by row 1, row 2, and so on. This is optimal. Row 50K, right? All right. So, for example, like if you're thinking about each of these ratios, what exactly do they signify? As I said, like there was this entire space that was available, but my hyperplane took this one. And so, like, what is that ratio of the space that like it takes up in the entire available space? And so, for example, when this like ratio is almost zero, right, it's coming really close to zero. It's like a very small value. So basically, it's like really away from the optimal. If it's like close to one, then it's almost optimal. And then, of course, for this experiment, this entire thing of like generating an n equals 20 data set, and then there is no space left, but I'll still write repeat, right? And then randomly generated this, and then getting these rows was repeated multiple times. And because this was like a simulated setting, so the E outs for each of these could also be calculated. And so for instance, like E out H1, E out H2, and so on, E out H50K. All right. So what exactly are we trying to understand here? We are trying to understand the variability or the variation of this E out with respect to this row, because again, this row in some ways is capturing how effective like my hyperplanes is, like whatever randomly generated hyperplane is, with respect to the optimal hyperplane or the fattest or the largest margin, maximum margin hyperplane that's available to me. And so here is a better picture, I would say, of that. And that's like taken from the book, of course. And so we have this histogram that shows the relative frequency of different margins. And so that relative frequency, I already defined it, is this. And E out, as we said, we can calculate E out because it's simulated data. We have access to the entire data set. All right. So what is going on? If you look at this like red curve here, this one, right? Uh, this is like dropping. So what does this tell us? Well, as the hyperplane captures larger part of the available margin, my E out will obviously go down, right? And so this E out is going down as like my row is approaching one, and obviously when it approaches one, it is like almost optimal, and so that's why we reach to that point, right? So here, this is like the average E outs essentially among those hyperplanes that capture that amount of margin. So that's what is on the y-axis. All right, and so you must be looking at this like blue line, and of course this is like my SVM. So regardless, it stays like a straight line, and we already know why, right? Now the like thing to kind of focus on or notice, I would say, is like this like dropping of this line, this red line, that red curve that was like capturing how E out is essentially dropping, right? And that drop sometimes that goes below the even the optimal and gets better than the optimal, right? Is of a little bit of concern, although like we take this as the optimal, and that's what we are going to consider optimal, of course. But if you think about how this SVM was generated, so this what this is suggesting is that the true like optimal hypotheses looks at fewer data points because we know that we are focusing on those like support vectors. So we are only focusing on the vectors or the points that were supporting the hyperplane. But then there might be a scenario when other points were also contributing to somehow lowering my E out. And we cannot like completely discard those points, and that's what this is kind of telling us. But usually in practice we do, and in practice I'm saying because this is like a simulated data set, so chances are high that we wouldn't even get that kind of a picture with real data set, but then we cannot discard this particular outcome, right? So this essentially points us to the fact that we may want to pay some attention to those points as well that we have left out. And I will just like stop that discussion about them right now, and maybe we'll talk about them a little bit going for like further in the course. All right. Okay, so what is the larger picture of this experiment essentially telling us? Well, this is telling us bigger margin is generally better because like when we come close to 1, that's when my E out is like completely minimized. This is like almost 0.04 or something, right? And this is like rather like telling us also that my experiment, which was of course like using simulated data, and of course we cannot say that this is like a mathematical fact, right? But then experimental evidence is sometimes useful because that kind of gives us an intuition of building mathematical facts. So experiment number 1 tells us that yes, a larger margin is indeed better. Now we're looking at a second experiment, and the second experiment, again, I'll draw the same similar sort of picture. And let's say again, we have like my f, right? The target function, and then I have like these similar looking, I would say, points here. These are the two regions, let's say +1, -1. All right. So in this experiment, what we are doing is we are looking at this like similar like fitting my support vector machine here from the perspective of bias and variance, right? So what we're going to do is we are simulating this very simple learning problem where we have this flat target function, this f, right? And what we're doing is we are trying to fit the fattest hyperplane. Now we know from the definition of the fattest hyperplane in our earlier discussion, we can obtain it by getting the vertical distance, as I said earlier, between the lowest or like positive point and the highest negative point, right? Again, we've looked at this before. So we are going to find like somehow the bisector of this somewhere here, right? And this is going to be my SVM. All right, again, as I said, like we've looked at it before, again, we are looking at it from the perspective of bias variance. Now, again, if we generate many random hyperplanes here, right, then separating hyperplanes because this is separable data, and then compare with this optimal one, right, the random one will be somewhere like within this region, right? Like the whatever this like, so this is my fattest, this is where my fattest is going to lie, right? So this is like my bisector of the maximum margin, right? And the random hyperplane, because that's also like separating hyperplane, will lie somewhere within that region, right? So what we're trying to do is we can like plot this like over multiple data sets. Again, like let's assume we are like generating data set, and then we are getting all these hyperplanes as they are generated, right? And what we can do is we can, every time we are generating a new data set, we can get like the optimal one, and we can get these like all these random ones, right? So we can get both of them. And so what we've done in this experiment is that we've tried to plot them in like assuming that this like target function is 0, and like what is the distribution of these, like when do they get to the target function, and what is that range essentially. So just like I mean, any other separator, even the random one will fall on the optimal one. So just like this, the SVM will also fall on that optimal one, right? So let's look at what are the results of this, all right? So let's look at this. So here it is. And as I said, like this was the experiment, and we're looking at it through the lens of bias and variance. And this is the distribution I was talking about. So blue is the optimal hyperplane, like for all the data sets we generated. Red is the random one. So just like the optimal one, the most likely occurrence is around 0 for the random one as well. And this like maybe let's say the 0 lies somewhere here where like my target lies essentially. But like the random one will have slightly lower probability than the optimal one. That's the only difference. That's why like there's a lot of overlap, and then there is like this red region shown on either sides. That's the random one. Now the distribution is wider for the random one as expected, because it moves around in this, like, whatever the fattest hyperplane was there, and it moves around in that region again and again. So when we think of that, like on average, both of them come close to F, right? um, but like, I would say if you're looking at the bias versus variance for both of them, right, then biases should be comparable, right? Bias is comparable. That is not a surprise. And so we can see here in this table here that biases are indeed comparable. But there is no surprise when we say that, like, we have a higher variance for the random one, because random one can vary in a larger, like, region, right, as compared to my optimal one, which is effectively the bisector between two, like, nearest points, like within two different classes essentially, right? So that's not a surprise. As I said, the variance, like in case of the random one, is especially high. And if you're looking at the definition of E out, which was the sum of bias and variance, then obviously in the random one, we get a higher E out as compared to the support vector machines. Okay, so here again, this is like pointing us to the fact that yes, fat is better, right? And through the lens of the bias and variance also, we can say that fat is better than any other random one. I would just like to add a few things here, like how does this result relate to regularization, if you can think about it, right? So what was regularization doing in our problem? So it was constraining the fitting of the data by holding back a little bit, right? It was constraining the model, not letting it fit as much as it would have, like, right? And then it was essentially reducing variance by doing that. Because if you remember, bias wasn't getting like lower, in fact, it was getting a little higher, correct? But with support vector machines, with SVMs, usually the case is that even like we improve in bias, because like there is, although like it's a small difference, but it is there, right? So with SVMs, it's a similar trend as regularization, with the added advantage of getting like slight improvement in my bias. So I can say that SVMs are robust due to their ability to deal with noise, just like regularization enables any other model to do that. So my SVMs have this inherent capability of dealing with that noise and not getting astray with noise, and as a result controlling both bias and variance. So in a way we can sense that SVMs are even better than what we were doing with regularization in some sense. And that's why they are like the most robust models that are known to us. All right. So these two experiments justified that fatter is indeed better, right? And of course, this is like just experimental evidence. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about the theoretical justification of the fattest hyperplane. As I said, like using the VC dimension or the VC theory, we are going to talk about why is this like theoretically better? Why is a fatter hyperplane better?